Hey Crossroads family, tonight I want to briefly share with you the incredible story of how God's faithfulness has brought us to this special moment in time where we are gathered together to celebrate our first 75 years as a church. On the Sunday morning of July 14th, 1946, 6 people gathered for a Bible study at the home of John and Leela Mason in the Army community of Kurundu in the former Canal Zone. During this time, they made a little circle and got down on their knees and prayed for a ministry to be raised up in Kurundu. Well, God answered that prayer in a wonderful way. Just 2 days later, the Kurundu Civic Council voted to give the group permission to organize a Sunday school in the Kurundu Theater. On Sunday, August 4th, 1946, the first meeting was held with 5 people in attendance. By October, the group had grown to an average attendance of 50. And on Sunday, February 23rd, 1947, a meeting was called for the purpose of formally organizing a church. 40 people responded to the roll call, and this group was considered the charter membership of the new Kurundu Protestant Church. The first item put into the new church's annual budget was a sum of $500 for missions. Well, since it was located on a military reservation, during its first several years, the church was served by a series of 5 military chaplains. In 1954, the church was authorized by the military to hire a civilian pastor, and during the first 44 years with civilian pastors, between 1954 and 1998, the church had a total of 8 different senior pastors. My dad and I started as co-pastors in July of 1998. Now, back to 1947. 2 Quonset huts were donated by the Army for the congregation to turn into a church facility, right about where the Años de Kurundu tennis complex sits today. Work began at once by volunteers, and by November of 1947, the columns, beams, and back wall of the sanctuary building were completed. The first service in the new facility was held by candlelight in the almost completed sanctuary on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 1947. Right at midnight, a full moon broke through the clouds and shone brightly through the unfinished portion of the front of the church, as if God were blessing the whole idea. The moonlight, flickering candles, and hushed stillness of many heads bowed in prayer gave an atmosphere that, and I quote, "Surely God was in the very midst." The community of Kurundu became a part of the U.S. Air Force in 1948. The new Kurundu Protestant Church grew rapidly. This is what the church looked like on a typical Sunday morning back then. After the sanctuary was completed, the second Quonset hut, pictured at left, was remodeled and turned into a Sunday school building. It also served as a meeting place for various other church activities. It was dedicated to the Lord in a special service on Sunday, September 18th, 1949. This is how I remember Kurundu Protestant Church, because this is what the church looked like in 1969 when our family arrived in Panama. It was in this same year that the church was notified that it must relocate off of the Kurundu military reservation or close its doors. This was a huge decision to make for an entirely independent church with no funds to start a building program and no affiliations with other organizations that could help finance such a project. But what the church lacked in material resources, it made up for in spiritual resources and a great deal of faith. At a special congregational meeting, the members voted unanimously to build a new church building. A committee was formed to seek permission to build on Pan Canal property, and God provided a swampy corner in Corozal at the intersection of Gaillard Highway and Rybecki Road. only God knew back then how strategically located that swampy corner would eventually become. The new Corozal site was dedicated to the Lord in a ceremony held on Sunday, May 2nd, 1971 at 12 o'clock noon. Lieutenant Governor Richard Hartline and other Canal Zone dignitaries, as well as local clergy and the Corundu Protestant Church congregation, were present. The name of the church was changed from Corundu Protestant Church to Crossroads Bible Church. And after bringing in 3 feet of rocks to level out the swamp, construction began. The building of the church was undertaken by a combination of professional construction workers and volunteer labor. The men, ladies, and young people of the church worked hard day and night and on Saturdays and holidays to see the construction to its completion. Finally, in March of 1973, Crossroads Bible Church opened its doors, and the church was dedicated in a series of week-long services. The official dedication date of our present church building was Sunday, March 11th, 1973. The per square foot construction cost was a mere $13, even though pre-construction estimates had the cost at somewhere between $25 and $30 per square foot. Because so many people in the congregation did so much of the work, labor costs were kept to a mere $42,114.36. The total cost of the building, including furnishings, came to approximately $180,000, all provided by members and friends of the church, and all completely paid for by the end of 1995. After the church building was completed, the members of CBC voted to build a duplex parsonage in order to provide adequate housing for the church pastors. Land was obtained in Cardenas, just up the road from the new church building, and construction of the parsonage was completed in June of 1976. In 1977, the Torrijos-Carter treaties were signed, granting Panama full operational control of the Panama Canal at the end of 1999. During the next 2 complicated and sometimes difficult decades, Crossroads Bible Church continued to make disciples within both the military and civilian communities here in Panama City, and continued to generously support a wide variety of missions projects, both here in Panama and around the world. In 1997, Crossroads Christian Academy was started as a ministry of CBC. Between 1998 and 2000, Crossroads Bible Church changed dramatically. As a result of the implementation of the Torrijos-Carter treaties, the CBC pastor and most of the CBC congregation left the Isthmus, and Crossroads started the journey towards becoming the international bilingual church that we are today. Also, during this time, the church roof was changed, all the main air conditioning units were changed, and all the carpets were changed. This all cost approximately $100,000, and we still don't really know where all the money came from. That's just one of many amazing CBC God stories that I could tell you. In 2001, the CBC Sanctuary was expanded to accommodate 300 people. Between 2003 and 2005, the 6 container classrooms were built. In 2006, the back 2-story classroom building was built. In 2007, our Juntos Podemos Corundu building was purchased, and remodeling of the original building was completed in 2012. In 2008, the roof was put over the gymnasium and parking area. In 2009, the playground set was purchased and installed. In 2012, the security fence was built. In 2017, the lobby was added, a roof was built over the playground, the art room was built, and an additional eating space and small playground were added. Things seemed to be going great We had grown from 1 Sunday service to 2 and then to 3. We had been able to make many significant and much needed repairs and additions to our church facilities. People were consistently coming to faith in Christ and being baptized. The number of formal CBC members was on the rise. More and more people were getting involved in different CBC ministries. Missionaries were being sent out from the church. We seemed to have great momentum. And then came COVID-19, and everything suddenly came to a screeching halt. Many of our people left Panama. A handful of our people went home to heaven. But most of our people stuck with us through thick and thin as we tried to reinvent ourselves, as we tried to figure out how to continue to accomplish our mission of making disciples. During the many months that we were unable to gather in person, we experienced some successes and some failures, and we learned a lot in the process. And now, by God's grace, I believe that we have emerged from the pandemic stronger than ever. Now more than ever, there are many people, both here in Panama and in other parts of the world, who consider CBC to be their church home. And because COVID-19 forced us to figure out how to minister to people online, now more than ever, we are in a position to make more disciples than we have ever made, both here in Panama and around the world. Over the past 75 years, thousands of people have come to Christ and/or grown up significantly in their Christian faith through the ministry of CBC. Today, there are literally thousands of people scattered all over the world who have gone out from CBC to faithfully serve God in a wide variety of both military and civilian jobs and as missionaries and pastors. For 75 years, God has been using CBC to build His kingdom, both here in Panama and around the world. It's a tribute to God's great faithfulness, and also to the faithfulness of the thousands of people over the past 7.5 decades who have called CBC their church home. And now, the baton is in our hands. Did you hear that? Now the baton is in our hands. Now it's up to us to continue running the race. Now it's up to us to diligently continue CBC's 75-year disciple-making legacy and to securely pass the baton along to the next generation. I'm all in. Are you?